Okay, good morning, everybody. Welcome to this very special edition of the Packard Network Live. I apologize for the technical difficulties. It was a problem on my end, but welcome, and welcome to those of you in Europe that are good afternoon to those of you in Europe, and good evening to those of you in the Middle East. It's great to have you here as well. And I encourage all of you watching that will see this on the replay. Most of my network is in Asia. So I know you're sleeping right now. So please do engage with my special guest and I over the weekend on replay as well. Just because you're not watching it live doesn't mean you can't access the great wisdom that we're going to share with all of you today. So I've been very excited. Just a little story before I introduce my guest that about, a year and a half ago, I was scrolling through LinkedIn and I noticed this woman on here that was hosting these daily videos with people from all over the world. And so I decided to I stopped scrolling and turned up the volume and listened to one of those. And it was just an amazing program that my guest was hosting on sharing a story with a veteran at that particular point in time. So I reached out to her after the program to give her some feedback on it and everything. And she kindly responded to me, and we have developed a very close friendship since that point in time. And she approached me to be on this program and said, "Hey, I'd love to help you out and Brett and that kind of thing." And I was sitting there with a network of under 2,000 people, and it's not about numbers as we'll talk about today, but I said, no, I want to earn this. Okay, so let's talk again after I grow by 10 times. And with her help, I've been able to do that, and here we are sitting there as well. So the first lesson today, before I even introduce my special guest, is that for anything that's worthwhile in life, earn it, work hard and earn it. And we're going to talk a lot about that in a minute, but I had to earn this opportunity. She didn't require it, but I required it of myself. And that's the best kind of pressure to put. Don't let other people pressure you in life. You can pressure yourself and then pace it where it's not too much and doesn't cause you to do things that you normally wouldn't want to do. So that's a great example of how you can earn your right to do certain things. And so I felt that I was obligated to do that. So my special guest, Rachel Beck. Rachel, good morning to you.
Good morning, and thank you so much for having me today. You and I were really excited to do this together. And it's an honor and privilege to be with you. People don't know, but you're one of my closest friends in the world. You are incredible, phenomenal. I am clapping for you. I'm cheering for you. I'm behind you 1,000%. This is never, ever going to change. You're one of the most kindest people I've ever met in my life.
Well, thank you. And I feel the same way about you as well. And I think there's a lot of great wisdom in what you just told me that you and I can over the course of the next hour, share with everybody to hopefully help elevate them as well. And that's one of the goals here. So we're going to talk a bit about servant leadership, and we're going to talk about a really hot topic on my mind this week about working behind the scenes and how powerful that can be. We don't always have to, be out there telling the world what we're doing. It's actually better to just help people and let them discover the fact. That's what great leaders do. They don't go out there and brag and talk about how well they're doing. They make it about other people. And Rachel, I know you and I, this is our philosophy and what we do. So we're going to talk about that. But for those of you that few of you that don't know Rachel, Rachel is an international award-winning photographer. Those of you that know me know that in my early years in high school, I was the head photographer for a local newspaper. And my job description was very simple. Go out and get a front page photo for the newspaper every day. And that was a challenge in a town of less than 4,000 people, but did it as well. So Rachel, Yeah, Rachel and I have something in common there, but Rachel's photography skills go much deeper than mine do, and she's an award-winning photographer. She's owned a business here in North America. We're both coming to you from North America today, and for nearly a decade, she uses the camera lens to actually develop a very unique perspective on whatever she's focused on. And it's just amazing as well. So she'll probably talk a bit about that a little while. And Rachel was also an orphan born in a remote village in India and adopted and raised by a white Jewish family in America. Now, there's a lot in that. That's an international ethnicity. And Rachel has, as a result of that has created what I would say the beauty of her going through that and her life journey. And it's also created some hardships that she's had to face as well. And so we'll talk a bit about how to deal with some of that. My goal in this 1 hour is to really make this a relevant conversation for all of you, that if you have an aspect of your life journey or your career journey, then I'm confident that what Rachel and I will talk about will help you dig yourself out of whatever low point you might be in your life, and you emerge much stronger, which Rachel has done as well. And Rachel's there was a mysterious death around her birth mother, and we could talk for a long time about that as well. But I think that she's been through a lot in her life, and she has kindly shared this with the sole objective of helping other people as well. So she understands adversity quite well. I think that she, how should I say this? I think that she has seen adoption from all sides. Okay. She's lived it. She has dealt with serious issues like racism. She's dealt with those as well. She has been experienced a lot of trauma in her life, and has made her resilient. We're going to talk about resiliency in a few minutes as well. So there's a lot there, a lot to unpack with this wonderful woman that I'm honored to have on the program. And I do want to mention that Rachel has a Bachelor of Arts in General Studies with minors in psychology and gender studies. Rachel and I, the disclaimer here that she always gives, that I'll give as well, we are both mental health advocates. We are not doctors. We are not licensed professionals, but we're advocates. And our number one recommendation for anybody experiencing any type of hardship is to seek the counsel of a professional certified doctor in your particular country. If you do something, we don't diagnose issues. We will advocate for you. We will in the right direction. If you want help finding a doctor, we're both well connected. We can refer you to other people, but that's the first step, is to seek that professional help if you need that way. That being said, there's a lot that we will share here around how you can handle adverse situations and that type of thing. So please take it within that context as well. And so anyway, Rachel, I'm going to take a sip of water here and re-welcome you again to the program. And if there's anything in your amazing background that I've left out, please feel free to fill in the gaps.
Well, Brett, I'm completely honored, really, really honored for your beautiful introduction. Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you to everybody who is tuning in and joining us live. We really, really appreciate that. We want to thank you guys for your time that you're spending with Brett and me this morning. We appreciate it. Yeah. Appreciate you showing up on the replay. We honor people's time. So I just want to take a moment and say thank you so much.
Yeah, that's great. And for those of you tuning live, I will be in 5 or 10 minutes. Let us know if you're tuning in live and where you're at. I will acknowledge you. I'll be dipping into LinkedIn after I get this conversation going in a moment, and tee up any questions, comments. Don't hold anything back. We know that everybody watching this is professional in nature, but if there's anything personal that you want to ask us, feel free. We will address it, and so please get active with your keyboard as we're talking here as well. So Rachel, let's kind of kick this off by talking about servant leadership. When I'm relatively new to LinkedIn, you're a seasoned pro at LinkedIn, and I have very much mirrored a lot of what you do that has led to 10 times plus growth in a year through a principle that I know you value and I value, called servant leadership. And in fact, you work 16 hours a day, often behind the scenes. We'll talk a bit about that. But what is servant leadership to you really mean, and how can people use that not just on a social media platform but in real life?
So servant, this is the kind of leader I am, but I'm the leader who's stands in the back and pushes my network forward. That's the kind of leader. My job is to help my network. That's what it's about. And I came up with my show 3 years ago, the first day of lockdown, because I knew that my network needed help. So I made, that conscious choice to start the show, to interview people, to shine a light on them. They just have to educate, motivate, and inspire. And what my network needs to walk away with learning something. So I'm always behind, pushing them forward, creating opportunities for them, being available for my network. That's what leadership is about. I personally believe that you better earn that title of leader.
Absolutely. It's not a given. It's not a given, right? People don't hand it to you at all.
Oh, and you and I both know, because we talk privately, sometimes the name is put there, but the person hasn't earned it. So that title of leader should earn it. You should absolutely earn it. And it should never, ever, ever be about you, ever. And that's the big mistake I see people making.
It's about others. It's about leaders viewing their role, whether you're leading a large team or you're leading just yourself or your family. It's about that mentality of overseeing a village. And in that village, you want to make sure that people can eat. They have food, clothing, and shelter. Okay. And those are basic things that we all heard when we were little growing up. And one of the first things that we learned is that those are necessary things to thrive. But in the real world, a lot of people don't have that. Right. And leaders, if you just start with the principle, some people ask me, Brett, how can I get started in leadership? And a lot of it is, for all of those around you, make sure they have food, clothing, and shelter. Pretty basic, right?
Right. Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And that's
exactly.
People really, really need to remember that people are out here. They're trying to feed themselves. They're trying to survive. They're trying to feed their families. That's why I'm always asking for kindness, because what you might have, somebody else might not have that. And
right. and vice versa, right? It could be the opposite as well.
Absolutely. So it's creating this awareness, and that's what I'm trying to do too, is to create an awareness of compassion and empathy. And that is a skill I look for in a leader. It's absolutely, if you don't have those soft skills, you're probably not for me. I'm probably not going to connect with you on any kind of level. I look for those soft skills, and you and I both know it was very necessary during the pandemic. Very, very necessary for people to develop those skills.
Absolutely. And and for those of you that are just getting started on your leadership journey, There's a lot in the younger generation as well. Please understand that it is not something that you're born with, right, Rachel? It's something anybody can develop, but you need to have an open mind to developing that, and you can develop amazing leadership right here on this platform if you use it the right way and include the right people in your circle. Rachel, I'm just going to acknowledge a few people that are on here. First of all, I want to acknowledge
okay.
No, that's fine. So for Lynn Quang it's after midnight in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. For Lynn, thank you. You always stay up past midnight for my lives. I'm very grateful, and I'm also really grateful that in the next couple of months, you and I secured a date. You're going to be on the program. We will not do it after midnight your time, so we will do it at a much more comfortable time for you. But thank you for being part of this as well. We have Tyler Shabadu here Tyler. As well.
Tyler Sabadu, how are you?
Yes. We have, let's see, we have Sylvia Ayuso she's from Madrid. I had a conference with her earlier in the week. We have Dee Powers here from New York City. We've got Eunice here as well from Nigeria. Eunice, thank you so much for taking the time tuning in. We have Kiran Deep Sandhu here as well. It's wonderful to have you here, Kiran, as well. We have Dimas Okoth here as well. Thank you so much. We have Doug Hancock here. Doug, you're a big supporter. Thank you so much. Hazel Martin, Southwest London as well. And Hazel made a comment. She loves, Rachel, what you say around word of mouth, and she advocates promoting you to talk about a subject as well. So we have Terry Yofi here as well.
Hi,
Terry, thank you.
Yeah.
So I think that's great. And that's just a few of the people here. So I know we're going to have an active crew. Please tee up any questions, comments that you have as well. So Rachel, back to us right now. Let's talk about the concept of, I've always had the belief in my career footprint that performance is the result of two things: hard work and attitude. Do you have a perspective on that formula?
Yes, I do, my friend.
Let's have it right here.
There are no shortcuts. There's absolutely no shortcuts. I had shared with you before we went live. That's a common question I get is, how can I be successful on this platform? Right. I get, can I do it in 10 minutes? That's one of the most common questions I actually get is, can I be successful in 10 minutes? It does not work that way. You have to put the time that is necessary. And you were talking, yes, I do work 16-hour days because, that's what it takes to build what I built for years and when I'm continuing to build. So that's a question people have to ask themselves. Do they want it bad enough? Are they willing to put the time in? Are they willing to do the work that is necessary? And only people know the answer. But there's absolutely no shortcuts to it. There is no shortcuts. You have to do the work that is necessary. That's how it goes. And, if people, and every person who I have on the show who is, and I ask them the question about, when we talk about success, they always say, Rach, I do the work. Whether it's a football player, whether there's an actor, whether it's someone running a business, they always say the same thing, or they're running a full company. They say that, Rach, I do the work. I do the work that's necessary. And that is something, some people want to do it, some people don't. And that's personal. That's a very personal.
It's a choice. It's a choice, right?
It's very much a choice. And people always, I was just discussing this with someone very close in my life. We were talking about time management. Right? I don't waste 1 second of my day. Okay. You know this about
I know
me.
that.
We're really close friends. So I don't waste 1 second of my day. So that's a big part of it. And, I manage a lot every single day, all day long, like all day long. So the question is, how are you managing your time? And that is where a lot of people, they've written me personally, Rach, I really struggle with this, and I've given them some tips. But a big part of it is how you're managing your time. Where are you putting your focus?
Right. And you put in a lot of time every day helping other people. But how much time is that roughly, Rachel?
A day?
Yeah.
16 to 17 hours a day.
Yeah.
16
So
to-
that is, and you're kind of helping people from around the world, right? Different time zones, morning, noon, and night. So I think that's another example that I'd like for the audience to capture. When somebody like Rachel, who's a relevant, high impact, elite leader, when she says she's working 16 hours a day, she's not just doing that because she wants to work 16 hours a day in her local time zone. She's doing that because she's got people in India, people in Nigeria, people in Zambia, people in Namibia, Mozambique. These are all countries that I used to work in Zimbabwe, people all over the world that are in different time zones. And she's making herself available to those people that she's helping in the background. So sometimes it's not a 9 to 5. If it's 5:30 p.m., I can't help you. It's not that type of mindset. And again, it's a choice. Some people may choose not to work beyond 9 to 5, and that's certainly
okay.
That's okay, right? Yeah,
right. It's absolutely okay. They got to do, what works for them. I'm just, when people ask me how much do you work every day, I tell them. And you're right, a big part, because we know our friends in Australia wake up, like we start seeing them around 2 to 4, they start popping in. So time zones is a big part of it, because I am helping many different time zones. But it's what works for you.
it's what works for you.
If
Yeah.
you're working 3 hours a day and you can accomplish everything you do in 3 hours a day, that's wonderful. But I'm also responsible for 285,000 people who need serious help every single day. I answer every text, I answer every DM, I answer every single message. And I look for the seriousness of what they need for help. So it starts from, because you and I talk all day long, it starts from the minute I get up to the minute I go to sleep.
Yeah.
But if you're a leader, that's what you do. When people are like, Rach, I need help. Rach, I need and so I prioritize. That's what I do. I go through DM and I scan and I look and say, okay, boom, boom. And when I say serious help, I mean really serious help. And it's my job as a leader to make sure they get the help that is necessary.
Yeah, that's good. I'd like to welcome Kim McNeely here. Kim, thank you so much for tuning in. It's great to have you here. Hazel is raising a great point, Rachel, and a very important point that I know, especially in the pandemic economy, well, any time for that matter, on people that have they have a life to live. They have to get their sleep. They have to, do all of this as well. And Hazel's basically raising the point and wants to know, how do you function working 16 hours a day? That's a lot of hours, right? And if you need 8 hours of sleep, that's pretty much your whole life. That's what Hazel's question is. How do you look after yourself, Rachel? Could you maybe talk about that for a few minutes as well?
Absolutely. And Hazel, thank you. That was a really great question. So this is what I do, because my physical mental health, my mental health is number one for me. I will protect my mental health. Like that is absolutely number one for me. I time block, Hazel. So that's a good question, right? So I have 2 specific hours that are on my schedule that are non-negotiable, that I don't let people block that time, because that's my time. Either I exercise every single day, and that's not negotiable for me, because that's part of me taking care of myself. So that's how I handle it. A time block. And people are like, oh, can I have an hour? And I'm like, no, Like you can have another hour. So it's really important to me that when people are trying to schedule with me, that, they ask, they don't just, pop me in somewhere. Like they ask and they say, what time works for you? So Hazel, that's how I do it. I time block out and I take 2 hours for myself during the day. And it's important. It's important.
Yeah, and I think I just go back to Hazel, I do it differently than Rachel does it. And, I did as well. And you should probably do it different. You have to do what really works well for you. And if I look back to my career, I spent a number of years living literally on airplanes and in hotel rooms because it was traveling jobs, right? And I fortunately always had the geographical footprint where I always went north and south. And if you go north, so for example, Asia Pacific, going all the way down through Australia, up through Korea, Japan, that area as well. And your time zone differentials are just a couple of hours at the most. So I didn't have to deal with the jet lag because the travel was too heavy. Whereas if I would have ever had a pure global job, and I've worked all over the world, but never at one time, then I would have to travel east and west, and where you're traveling across time zones and it's a 12-hour time difference. Nighttime is daytime, plus the living in airplanes and hotels. And that's the type of lifestyle that I never wanted to have, because going back to see my family once a year and dealing with a 12-hour jet lag that takes me 4 or 5 days to recover from, that I didn't want to live like that. Okay, so therefore, if I want to work across countries, it's going to be kind of a north-south corridor. The Middle East and Africa is another example, other than Asia as well, where you just have a couple of hours time difference, but not 12 hours. So that, again, was my choice. Rachel talked about hers. I would encourage everybody out here, Hazel, it's a great question. You have to do what works for you, because life is a marathon. It's not a sprint. And it took me a long time, many years, to realize that. And my wife helped me a lot throughout this as well, that sometimes you have to slow down, right? And you need to, balance these things and tailor things so that they fit the type of life that you want now and also in the future. And, Rachel's footprint, she 16 hours a day works well for her with time blocks, right? And in mine, I gave an example of a traveling global person as well, where, okay, well, maybe I don't want to go east and west. So I'm not going to do jobs where I have to go across time zones. I'm going to go north and south. And I've still worked in 30 countries, even going north and south. Okay, so there's always different ways to do things. And I know a lot of people that are incredibly successful and they work 5 hours a day. So, and back to what Rachel, you said earlier, is that people have to do what works for them. It's like showing up, right? If you post something on the platform and somebody doesn't respond right away, how should you read into that?
We're talking about, can I add one more thing for
please? Yeah, please.
Ms. Hazel, I want to add this too. A big part of it too, Brett, is I want to answer what she was saying, is it's who you surround yourself with. I won't be around anybody who creates anxiety for me. I'm not going to be, they're just not my people. I'm just not going to do it, or add more stress to my life. It's just not, so I do. That's a big part of it, is who you're surrounding yourself with, who is your inner circle, and who is there really that truly cares about you, sincerely cares about you. And I, Brett, you and I talk about it all the time.
Yeah,
I have to have my eyes open every single day. So
yeah, that's right. And it's just a difference in people. And so, Hazel, I think you've raised a really great point. And I'll just share my leadership philosophy. All the 30 years that I worked in the corporate world around the globe in different cultures, my philosophy has always been that I don't care how many hours somebody that I'm leading works. I really don't care. unless they're in a customer service job where the customer is dependent upon them being there, but they should never work more than 8 hours with reasonable breaks, right? Never demand that anybody work 16 hours, 14 hours, 12 hours. I think people have to do what works well for them. And I think what we're hearing from Rachel is through time blocks, and also the people that she helps, she's selective with that. So she's helping people that she can help, and she's also helping people that will help her. And that's really how the servant leadership works as well. And so then you're probably not one to, when you're living that way, you're probably not one to just count hours where the number's not important. So I think the number is a lot, Hazel, to sum up, is a lot less important. For Rachel, it might be 16, but that's her choice. And, for me, it might be 9. And for you, it might be 4. And for Steve, it might be, 11. And for somebody else, it might be 2, right? So, and some people work an hour a day, and that's it. I know a lot of people that way, nothing wrong with that.
I can't imagine
that. And some people are in a position to actually do that, right? So, so I think that's, it varies. I think the point that I want to get across with Rachel sharing the 16 hours a day is really that if you put in significant focus, okay, even if it's for an hour a day on servant leadership, you're going to get an amazing return on that time. So then you can either turn it up or turn it down, depending on actually where you want to be, right?
Well, I know. So let me say, because as not many, as an influencer, that's what it takes. I want to add that because as a social media influencer number, that's the second number question I get all the time. How many people are on your social media team? 0. I'm a team of 1. So that is another misconception that people have. I've heard, right. Oh, you must have like 20 people on your social media team running everything. No, I don't. Mm-hmm. And so it's me. You're right. They have the teams. It's great and wonderful. I mean, I think it's phenomenal. But that is, so when people are asking me, well, why did you? Well, if I don't do the work, who else is going to do the work? I mean, I love my network.
Yeah. So I mean, we were late. We were, 7 or 8 minutes late to this session today, all of you. And thank you again for waiting. And I'm sorry to those of you that had to drop off, but I couldn't get the tech. I'm also a one-person show. And I couldn't get the Zoom to go through Restream. And I'm sitting there with Rachel. We were both on 15 minutes beforehand, and we were going to start precisely at the top of the hour. And so what did I do? Didn't panic. I just said, hey, Rachel, we're going to start all over. We're going to wipe out this. I'm going to send you a text with the new details. We're going to start over. And that took 7 or 8 minutes. And, I wish that I could have avoided that. But when you're a one-person show, that just added additional work and it added stress. But when you keep a cool head, then you don't stress out and panic. And neither one of us panicked. And we found a way to come on live, right? There's just 2 of us here. We don't have teams helping us as well. Some people do.
And so they do social. And you know what, Brett? And that's what I was talking about today is grace. That's why you saw me write grace about the post today. A little more grace, a little more empathy, a little more compassion. Let's talk about technology. I could tell you so many funny stories about that. Yeah. It happens. Technology happens. I have filmed people in the most remote places in this world, and it happens. So you just have to, you go with the flow, especially if you've never produced a show like you and I do every day. If you never, had this kind of format, technology happens. We go with the flow. It's okay. I mean, it's just okay. That's what I'm talking about with people having grace and compassion.
Yeah, that's right.
Stand inside our shoes and do what you and I do every day.
Yeah, that's right. And Hazel, first of all, I really appreciate you raising this. Hazel's raised another point that is so important. She's raising the point on burnout, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm glad, Hazel, I'm really grateful. I'd love to have you on this program as well, and we can talk for an hour about this because it's important. And Hazel is in the U. I've lived and worked in the UK for 3 years as well, and she's raising the point that in, I think, probably corporate environment, that people see the boss working, sweating and working 14-hour, 16-hour days, maybe something along those lines, and so. And if somebody needs to go home for family reasons, it's an uncomfortable situation for those people at times, right? And I used to tell my people, well, people look to the leader. So Hazel, to address this last point that you're raising, when I was in Asia, the culture is typically work really long, really hard, very productive. And that's one of the reasons why the Asian economies are so incredibly resilient. But I used to, even if I had work to do, okay, I would oftentimes say, I'm out of here at 4:30. I would go home and quietly work, okay, because that way the people didn't see the leader sitting in the office. Because if I stayed in the office till 10 o'clock, nobody would leave. They might go out and get some dinner, but they better do it when, in their mind, when I wasn't looking. And the truth of the matter is that I encourage people. And on Fridays, I said 3 o'clock, we're done working, right? So we'll go out, we'll have a happy hour. We're done working, get out of the office. And people would say, but Brett, I still have work to do. Well, you can do it at home, because we need to change this culture of everybody thinking that they need to work as many hours as the boss does. So there are things that a leader can do to fight the direction of the current, like the example I'm giving in Asia. And it's worked. You could talk to anybody that has worked on my teams in Asia, and that's how we did it, and that type of thing. So I think it's a great point, Hazel. It's where burnout is serious. Rachel, I know you help a lot of people that are burned out, right?
Yes, and Hazel, that's another thing I want to talk about. So because I am a huge advocate for mental health, and I know that the seriousness of it. That's why I always ask people right now, please don't add more stress to people's lives. Please don't make people's lives any harder. And I'm never going to stop. I'm never, ever going to stop asking for that, because I know what people are dealing with in their lives right now. So people have to do what works for them. So Hazel, I take off Saturday and Sundays. There's work that I have to do because I don't personally have a job that I can fully take off, but I don't post Saturday and Sundays, and I'm out doing different things. So I do take some time. And I think that's, I can't help 250,000 people if I don't take care of myself. So that's a big part of it. That is a huge part. And and as a leader, I need to teach that. My network knows when I sign up Friday, I'll be back. Brett knows Sunday night is Sunday night. I usually start popping up around 8.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And Sunday night for you, I'll just remind everybody, is Monday morning in Australia. And Rachel, a huge part of your network is in Australia, and they're already up and starting their week. And Rachel's right. You're right there helping them, Rachel, on Monday morning, which is your Sunday night.
Which is my Sunday night. So I take Saturday and Sunday, to myself to recuperate, be with friends, be with family. And it's important. But
absolutely. And
I have to make sure that people are okay.
Yeah.
It's hard to explain that to people because I can't share what people share with me, because we share with each other on such a deep level. But when someone says, Rachel, I need your help, I know that it's serious. I know that it's and it's my job, not only as a leader, but as a human being, to do the right thing.
Absolutely. And that's why you're the perfect role model for a servant leader. as we do it that way. Regina Hutchings, welcome,
Hi,
Regina.
Regina.
Regina's in Philadelphia. For
Hi,
those of you that don't follow Regina, you have to do it that way because she looks after, amongst a whole array of other things, caretaking, okay, and how she looks after the mental health and the technical and operational aspects of people that caretake for loved ones and for other people in the community as well. And so please follow Regina Hutchings as well. Regina, thank you very much. And D Powers says, D Powers has said, burnout is really serious. Thanks for addressing it. And I'd like to thank Hazel for raising these points, D, as well. I think that's important, and we all acknowledge it that way as well. And so I think that's terrific. Rachel, let's shift the subject just a little bit, and you have been leading a movement for women's storytelling for a number of years, and that type of thing, and elevating women. I see you do it all the time. I do it on this program. Roughly eight out of 10 people that I put on this live program are women. That is intentional. It's not designed to demote men at all, but it's designed to just open some doors and to hopefully contribute a little bit to the global cultural change that's required to give women and their voice an opportunity to fully express the creativity, the innovativeness, and all the many things. Some of my best leaders that I've had in my career have been women, and it's just been amazing. So I do what I can, but you have done in your way really empowered and elevated a lot of women. Could you talk about that for a few moments and why? Maybe you could share why you're doing that.
Because women need to support women. That can't be overstated. I also was, and I had shared, I think it was like Christmas Eve or Christmas, I was severely bullied in middle school and high school. And it was by women. It's not by males. It was by women. So I am a huge advocate for teaching women how to treat each other, for teaching women to stand up for each other, to support each other, that one woman's success does not take away from another woman's success. I'm trying to teach women that we can all rise together, that it can be done together. And that is something that I will always use my voice for, that I have no time for jealousy, envy, hate, any of that. I have like no time for it. And part of that stems from me having my 4 near-death experiences. People who go through that, we see life from a very different perspective, a very, very different lens. One of my friends had posted something a year ago. It's really interesting. He said the most dangerous person and he was saying not dangerous, like I'm trying to think of the right word that he said this. He said the person who's gone through near-death experiences are the ones that you really need to be conscious about, because they have nothing to lose because they've already been there. And that's what people don't know about. I mean, I shared it Christmas Eve, I think Christmas Eve or New Year's. I've already been there. I've already been there almost 4 times. One of them almost happened about 2 months ago. So I just, that's another part of it, Brett, is because of what I've been through. And
Absolutely.
I see things very, very differently. And that he said something like the most is the person who's had the near-death experience. They have nothing to lose. They look at life in such a different perspective. And I wrote in his post, I said, you are absolutely correct.
I mean, I've had somebody on this program and who actually came from your program, Rachel Barbaru, who was out there as well and has publicly talked about these types of trauma as well. And these are some of the most inspirational people that I know on the planet, because they have been there and they have reached out and fully recovered from the low point, which really builds resiliency, right, Rachel? Would you say?
It absolutely builds resiliency. And here's another mistake leaders make. You ready? I tell my network at least once a month, I make mistakes. I'm a human being. I'm always evolving. I'm always in the process of learning. I'm not perfect. I can list every single flaw that I have. I'm okay saying that.
That's right. Yep.
I'm in my mid-40s. I could list my flaws, and that's okay. And there's things I don't know, so I go to the experts in their fields, and that's a mistake. Leaders aren't willing to say that. I turn on the camera and go, flawed, not perfect. I do it, so my network sees that, so they understand that. And that's another mistake. None of us are perfect. It doesn't exist. And there's so much pressure that people put on themselves to be perfect when perfection doesn't even exist.
Yeah, I mean, perfection is
I lost your sound a little bit. Hey there?
Yeah, Rachel?
Oh, now I can hear you. Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
Sorry, a bit of a
It's
technical
okay.
problem.
No worries.
Yeah. So a lot of it, perfection can be kind of an omen with people, right? And don't, my advice on perfection is certainly don't use that to set the guardrails up for your life on perfection, because you're gonna wind up disappointing yourself repeatedly if you try to be perfect.
The best lessons, I have 3 lessons I learned in my life, and I lived all these. Ready? I learned them all. I learned them all in 2008. All 3 of them.
Okay.
One, I don't have expectations of people. I like to be pleasantly surprised, because I've had people severely let me down in my life. Severely. So the bar is not very so I don't have expectations of people, which therefore leads to me not being disappointed. I'm learning to say no. I learned that in 2008, and that was one of the most powerful. I'm okay saying no. Someone said, I was like, no, okay, or I can't do this, I can't handle this, or I'm not going to do this now. That was and saying right now in this moment, right now, like in this moment in my life, this is not going to work for me. And those are important lessons that people need to learn. It's really, really crucial. And so if you don't have expectations and you become pleasantly surprised by people, it changes. I personally don't appreciate when people put expectations on me. You're setting people up to fail, and it's not right. It's just not right.
That's a great point. And I'd also just like to add that Hazel has made another comment here: collaboration, not competition.
Absolutely.
Amen to that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a great perspective. If you would look at life, collaboration and instead of competition, then you're going to go very far.
And that's exactly, I only compete with myself. I get up and I played sports my entire life. You know this, we talk about I played sports my entire life, and most of my life lessons have come from playing sports. And being on a team, I was a quarterback for a football team, that when I was 18 for fun. So you and I share a love of football. So it's learning how to do that. But it is, let me say this, when it comes to LinkedIn, that's exactly what it's about. It is about collaborating with people. All I do, Brett, is get up every day and try to do better than I did yesterday. I compete with myself. What could I do better today that maybe I didn't do yesterday?
Right, exactly. And it's the same winning mindset that people like Tiger Woods has, right? Tiger, in his peak, Tiger knew that he would win before he played. He just knew it. And that's because he competed with himself. Tiger Woods would change his swing in the middle of his peak, completely unheard of. And people would say, why are you changing your swing? He knew that he would need to do that in order to go to the next level, is competing with yourself. Rachel Beck gets up in the morning and she's trying to better her outcome versus yesterday. That's self-competing as well. It's so important to really view who your competition is and help your fellow human, right? And if they want to embrace that, great. And if they want to reject it, that's okay too, right, Rachel?
Yeah, thank you for saying help your fellow human being, because you and I are huge on that. Yes, help another human being. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, that's really servant leadership and what it's all about. And it's not, I had a great leader one time, his name Herb Myers, and back in the San Francisco days. And Herb always used to say he was developing leaders, and I was one of these young kids that he was developing into leaders. And he used to say to us that, people, everybody needs to eat, right? So the best leaders put more food on the table than they consume. Okay. Some people come up and all they do is eat the food. They don't put anything on the table for the benefit of others. Servant leaders, right? And hopefully that's what a lot of you are picking up from this discussion, is all about just putting food on the table, and things will take care of you. There'll be plenty for you, right? So just put the food on the table to benefit other people.
They need help. People need help. They are, especially there's so many people who lost their jobs, or grieving family members, are dealing, just because they don't share it publicly doesn't mean it's not going on, that are taking care of very sick family members who are taking, very serious things, or, getting diagnosed with diseases, very serious things that they're dealing with in their lives. And let's talk about that. If people are reaching out to you as a leader,
don't make assumptions, right?
Thank you. And that was the message I wanted to get across Christmas Eve. That was exactly it. I knew you would understand what I was trying to say Christmas Eve.
Yeah. I mean, you say it all the time, and it's so important. I mean, it is impossible to know unless you're basically living with somebody or they tell you directly, which oftentimes in real life that doesn't happen, what they're going through. So to just make an assumption that you're having a bad day, and if you assume that somebody else is having a bad day, what is the basis for that assumption? Don't be selfish, be selfless, and really look at don't make an assumption on people that might be very busy, but it doesn't look like they're busy to you. Well, maybe they're helping somebody else and not yourself at that particular point in time, right? So don't make those assumptions, because making those assumptions will destroy relationships.
No, people do with me all the time. Yeah. And they'll write me stuff and DM, and my response is, do you know my story? And they go, no. And then I say, you should learn it. Yeah, I've shared with you that, I try to teach my network, be very careful about DM, what you say in there. People take a screenshot, they edit it. People are looking to take me down every single day. Every single day, someone writes me a message, Rachel, I'm going to ruin your career. Rachel, I'm coming in. Really serious stuff. Rachel, I've shared with you privately. So that's another part of it. The people, there is the sweet, fun, good side of social media. And then there is the very dark, negative side. I am going to be doing more for security this year. I made a promise to my family and my friends that I will keep myself safe. And so I'm doing more things this year. And if I ever feel that I'm not, that's the day you'll see me walk away. I will not risk my life I'm very clear about that, but I'm doing what is necessary to keep myself safe.
Absolutely. And that's wonderful advice for everybody. No different than investment advice is that, which the overall umbrella around investment advice is know what the worst thing that could happen before you buy it. Some people understand that, learn it after they buy it. It's too late. Okay. So make sure that you understand things before you buy it. Make sure with personal security that you're safe. Things are always safe. That's what Rachel's saying. So these are this is very wise advice for living your best life. But if you don't have very much, right?
And that's the part of it people don't know when they're like, it's part of it about social media they don't understand because they're not doing what you and I do every day. So I'm going to be educating. I'm going to be doing a very powerful, real video about the things I've experienced as an influencer. That's going to go a little more deep so people actually get it and understand it.
That's great.
And that's why I always ask people, and as a leader, it's my responsibility to keep my network safe. And there are people in my network keeping me safe.
Mm-hmm.
But as a leader, it's your job to make sure your network feels safe. If I get a bad vibe about somebody being an empath, and
Yep.
you know what I do, it's that first interaction.
Yep.
Someone creates
Absolutely
1 ounce of anxiety, elevates my heartbeat in a weird way throughout. I keep a big protective bubble around my network. I only keep contact with people inside my network. Mm-hmm. So that's another part is, as a leader, what are you doing to protect your team? What are you doing?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. You got to fight for them, and you've got to respect their boundaries at the same time. You've got to not make assumptions. That there's a whole bunch of stuff here that I hope that especially the young leaders out there are taking note of, and maybe we'll watch this conversation a couple of times and jot down those key concepts that you can work on that we've clearly laid out here, because this is years of experience that we're doing this. Rachel, we have Madeline Loveday who is on here, and she has a question for you and is complimenting your work. It's amazing work that you do. You're very committed to your work. She would love to know what motivates you.
There are many things that motivate me. How
about the top 3?
The top 3, I don't forget where I come from, where my story begins. I've shared with you, I have a couple of dreams that I'm working on that I keep inside my heart. Only 4 people know my dreams and what I'm trying to accomplish. And the only reason why I don't share them is because I'm like, if I say it, it's not going to come true.
No, they're internal. Yeah.
Internal, very internal. So what motivates me? I don't forget where I come from. I was very blessed by a wonderful family.
So your roots, you really go back to your roots.
My roots is number 1 for me. This is never going to change. My roots is absolutely number 1 for me. 2, I have a voice. I'm going to use it and it is my responsibility. So there's certain things that I am working very hard on with other people. I'm going to end the stigma with other people around mental health. I'm going to be launching something this year that no one knows about yet to help end the stigma around mental health. I'm motivated when it comes to ending racism, anti-Semitism. So to answer the question, there's many things that motivate me. I have seen the worst that society has to offer from being a photographer for 10 years because I volunteered with many different organizations. I've gone into places in this world that most people wouldn't dare step into because it was my job as a photojournalist to do that. That was my job. So I have seen the worst. I've seen the worst, the way human beings treat human beings, and it makes my stomach sick. It makes me absolutely sick to my stomach. So you have a choice, right? Do you want to be part of that solution, or do you want to be part of the problem? I'm choosing to be part of the solution. If you're going to see, and when I say I've seen the worst, I've seen the worst. If you're going to see issues in this world and what is going on, and you're going to complain, I always turn to those people and I go, what are you doing? What are you doing to stop? You're complaining about all these issues, all these problems, but what are you doing to help? And I always ask that, you're gonna hear me talk about that next Friday, my tips for success. But like, I ask that, I always turn that question around. Like, oh, this is horrible, this is horrible, this is horrible. Yeah, it is. So I have some major stuff that I'm gonna be doing personally to
Fantastic.
help.
Yeah. Can't wait for that. Can't wait to support it. And I'm sure that those that have kindly, yeah, that's a great question. And the list is long, but a lot of, I know that there's a whole army of people ready and willing to support you with this, Rachel, and I'm certainly at or near the top of this list as well. And so I look forward to that. Rachel, we've gone about an hour now, including the tardiness caused by me.
Can I say thank you to everybody for coming and watching?
Yes,
thank
absolutely.
you, everybody. We value your time. We appreciate people who are watching it on the replay. We appreciate you showing up. And if you have any questions, drop them below. And I will definitely do my best to answer them. Brett, I want to honor you. Yeah. I want to thank you for having me today. I absolutely treasure our friendship. We ride together. This will never change. Everybody needs to connect with Brett. I can't say it enough.
Well, thank you, Rachel. Thank you. It's been my honor to not just the past hour, but to have met you and consider you a wonderful, genuine friend that really cares, not just about me, but about everybody. And that somebody that is incredibly dedicated to making this a better world, somebody that views their success as helping other people be successful. It's a completely selfless, type of servant leadership. Somebody willing to work behind the scenes, whether it's 16 hours a day, 2 hours a day, doesn't matter. You do what works best for you. And Rachel, I think you're definitely, I know you're one of my role models, that I model what I'm currently doing after you. And we do different things, but some things, we ride together and the values are the same, and I think that's what's really important. And I know that you and I and a whole bunch of other people, we don't compromise our values. We not only have our boundaries, but we respect other people's boundaries as well. And so once again, to those of you watching this live, and thank you, as Rachel mentioned, for everybody tuning in live, but also for those of you watching it on replay, I hope that you are able to pick up some great wisdom here that you can immediately incorporate into your life for your leadership with your teams today. There's no need to wait to help strengthen and prepare everybody for the tough times ahead. We may be going into recession. I don't know if we're going to or not, but you always want to be ready so that you're resilient when crisis strikes. And Rachel has shared, we've talked about her personal story, that we didn't have time to do it all justice, but some aspects of it. If you're resilient, you can rise above the low points, stronger than ever. And I think that principle applies just as much to leadership as it does in life. And because after all, we're all human. So I think with that, Rachel, we're about out of time. So thank you once again. I appreciate that. And thank you to everybody.
Sir. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you everybody for tuning in. And I'll look forward to seeing everybody again next week, when my cameras will be headed down to Australia at a completely different time of the day to talk to two people that are making a world of difference in the economy. So for now, have a terrific weekend.